Friends, if I want to watch super hit movie Godzilla vs. Kong in English, then you must like this video. If you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called Godzilla vs. Kong. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can 622 watch it. All the interesting about this movie in today's video, I am going to tell you. I am also going to give you all the information on which I request you friends to watch this video till the end. And so let's start the video. Godzilla vs. Kong is a 2021 American monster film directed by Adam Wingard. Produced by Legendary Pictures and distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures, it is a sequel to Kong, Skull Island, 2017, and Godzilla, King of the Monsters, 2019, and is the fourth film in the Monsterverse. It is also the 36th film in the Godzilla franchise, the 12th film in the King Kong franchise, and the fourth Godzilla film to be completely produced by an American film studio. The film stars Alexander Skarsgard, Millie Bobby Brown, Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Shun Oguri, Isa Gonzalez, Julian Dennison, Lance Reddick, Kyle Chandler, and Demian Bichir. Brown and Chandler reprise their roles from the previous Godzilla film. In the film, Kong clashes with Godzilla after humans move the ape from Skull Island to the Hollow Earth, homeworld of the monsters known as Titans, to retrieve a power source for a secret weapon intended to stop Godzilla's mysterious attacks. The project was announced in October 2015 when Legendary Pictures declared plans for a shared cinematic universe between Godzilla and King Kong. The film's writers' room was assembled in March 2017, and Wingard was announced as the director in May 2017. Principal photography began in November 2018 in Hawaii, Australia, and Hong Kong, and wrapped in April 2019. After being delayed from a November 2020 release date due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Godzilla vs. Kong was theatrically released internationally on March 24, 2021, and in the United States on March 31st, where it was released on HBO Max simultaneously. The film received generally positive reviews from critics, with praise for the visual effects and action sequences, but criticism towards the human characters. It broke several pandemic box office records and grossed $470 million worldwide, against a production budget between $155 to $200 million and a break-even point of $330 million, making it the 8th highest-grossing film of 2021. The film was a streaming hit, becoming the most successful launch title in HBO Max's history, until it was overtaken by Mortal Kombat. A sequel, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, was released on March 29, 2024, with Wingard returning as director. Plot: 5 years after the dragon-like extraterrestrial King Ghidorah awakened the monstrous titans around the world and was defeated by Godzilla, Kong is monitored by Monarch within a giant dome on Skull Island, which has been taken over by the storm that previously kept it hidden from the world. Kong is visited by Gia, the last Iwi native and young adopted daughter of Kong expert Eileen Andrews. Gia is deaf and communicates via sign language. Apex Cybernetics employee and Titan Conspiracy podcast host Bernie Hayes extracts data suggesting sinister activities at Apex's Pensacola facility. Godzilla attacks the facility, and Bernie stumbles on a massive device during the rampage. Madison Russell, a listener to Bernie's podcast, enlists Josh Valentine to investigate Godzilla's attacks. Apex CEO Walter Simmons recruits former Monarch scientist and Hollow Earth theorist Nathan Lind to guide a search for a power source into the Hollow Earth, the Titan's homeworld. Lind is hesitant as his brother died in an expedition to the Hollow Earth due to a strong reverse gravitational effect. He agrees when Walter reveals that Apex has developed Heaves, specialized craft able to withstand the gravity field. Lind convinces Andrews to let Kong guide them via an outpost in Antarctica. Lind, Andrews, and an Apex team led by Walter's daughter Maya board a barge escorted by the U.S. Navy, carrying a sedated and restrained Kong. Godzilla attacks the convoy and defeats Kong, then retreats after the ships trick him into thinking they are destroyed. Kong is airlifted to the Hollow Earth entrance and the team follows him into the tunnel in the Heaves. Bernie joins Madison and Josh in their investigation. They sneak into the wrecked Apex base, discover a secret underground facility, and become locked into a Hyperloop transport to Apex's Hong Kong headquarters, where they find a test of Mechagodzilla. It is telepathically controlled by Ren Serizawa, the son of the late Ishiro Serizawa, via neural networks from the severed head of Ghidorah. Walter intends to harness the Hollow Earth's energy to overcome Mechagodzilla's power supply limitations. Inside the Hollow Earth, Kong and the team find an ecosystem similar to Skull Island. In his species' ancestral throne room, they find the remains of an ancient war with Godzilla's kind and a glowing axe made from another Godzilla's dorsal plates. Identifying the power source, the Apex team sends its signature back to their Hong Kong base despite Andrew's protests. Attracted by Mechagodzilla's activation, Godzilla arrives in Hong Kong and blasts a hole through the earth with his atomic breath. After provoking him with gunfire, Maya and the Apex team's heave is crushed by Kong. Kong, Andrews, Jia, and Lind ascend to Hong Kong, where Kong engages Godzilla in a ferocious final battle in which Godzilla emerges victorious, leaving Kong nearly dead. Madison, Josh, and Bernie are caught by security and taken to Walter, who orders Ren to activate Mechagodzilla, which is then possessed by Ghidorah's consciousness. It kills Walter, electrocutes Ren, and overwhelms Godzilla in melee weaponry and atomic weaponry. Lind revives the dying Kong by detonating the heave on his chest, acting like a defibrillator. Jia convinces Kong to help Godzilla. As Mechagodzilla overpowers both titans, Josh momentarily short-circuits Mechagodzilla's controls with Bernie's liquor flask on its control panel. Godzilla then charges up Kong's axe with his atomic breath, allowing Kong to destroy and decapitate Mechagodzilla. Madison, Bernie, and Josh reunite with Madison's father, Mark, while Godzilla and Kong acknowledge and make peace with each other before they go their separate ways, knowing that they will definitely see each other again someday. Sometime later, Monarch establishes an observation post in Hollow Earth, where Kong now rules. Cast Alexander Skarsgard as Doctor, a Monarch geologist and chief cartographer, who works closely with Kong and charts the mission into the Hollow Earth. Skarsgård described his character as a reluctant hero who is not an alpha, badass, and thrown into this very dangerous situation and is definitely not equipped for it. Skarsgård called Nathan an homage to 1980s films like Indiana Jones, Romancing the Stone, Lethal Weapon, and Die Hard. Skarsgård prepped for the film by researching the Hollow Earth and learning sign language to communicate with Kaylee Hoddle. Millie Bobby Brown as Madison Russell, the daughter of Monarch scientists Mark and the late Emma Russell. Madison believes there is a reason for Godzilla's erratic behavior. Suspecting a conspiracy formulated by the Apex Cybernetics, she proceeds to investigate with Josh Valentine and Bernie Hayes. Brown described the film as a coming-of-age story for Madison, noting that the character has grown up and become more independent since the events of the previous film, stating, "Her storyline has definitely evolved greatly in the way she deals with things, her attitude towards life, how much more stronger sick of a person." A Monarch anthropological linguist and Gia's adoptive mother, Hall described her participation as overwhelming due to the film being her first project after her pregnancy, but found the experience thrilling. Hall described Eileen as the Jane Goodall of Kong, Brian Tyree Henry as Bernie Hayes, an Apex Cybernetics technician turned conspiracy theorist and whistleblower aiding Madison and Josh to expose Apex. Henry described Bernie as a crackpot with a level of heart and loyalty. Henry noted that the tragic death of Bernie's wife shaped him to become a conspiracy theorist with a podcast, and further elaborated, "His goal is to use the tools at his disposal to bring the truth to the people. I always refer to Bernie as anonymous. He can see the injustices, but no one really listens to him." Due to Bernie's protective nature of Madison and Josh, Henry jokingly likened Bernie to Brienne of Tarth. Shun Oguri as Ren Serizawa, the son of the late Monarch scientist Ishiro Serizawa, and Apex's chief technology officer, who is the telepathic pilot for Mechagodzilla. Oguri described Ren's goal as trying to protect the Earth. However, the means to his goal differ from everyone else and his father. Oguri noted that Ren sort of followed in his father's footsteps, but stated he doesn't believe he was heard by his father. Wingard stated that the character was underwritten due to a lack of time to explore the character, and felt it was interesting to leave him a mystery. Eiza Gonzalez as Maya Simmons, a top-tier Apex Cybernetics executive, and Walter Simmons' daughter. Gonzalez described her role as a very smart woman behind a company. She described the film as slightly comedic. Gonzalez noted having enjoyed the fact that her character was a Latina woman with a high position within a company and not forced into a stereotype. Julian Dennison as Josh Valentine, a friend of Madison, aiding her and Bernie to investigate the source of Godzilla's erratic behavior. Dennison described his character as a nerd and Madison as his only friend. Dennison called Josh Madison's tech wingman and the realist in the duo, stating, "He kind of brings it, oh, we shouldn't do that because we'll die." And she's, "No, it will be fine." So I think they play very well, and they're a very good mix of just craziness. Dennison screen-tested with Brown using scenes from Romeo and Julie. Lance Reddick as Guillermin, the director of Monarch. Reddick's role was originally larger, Wingard stated. There was a scene earlier in the film, a big boardroom scene where they're setting up the mission. He had a larger role, but ultimately we didn't need that scene. He only appears in 2 brief scenes. Kyle Chandler as Dr. Mark Russell, Madison's father, Monarch's deputy director of special projects, and an animal behavior and communication specialist. Demian Bachir as Walter Simmons, Maya's father, CEO, and founder of Apex Cybernetics, a tech organization invested in trying to solve the Earth's Titan problem, secretly creating Mechagodzilla to exterminate them. Walter is a visionary entrepreneur and billionaire who wants to help humanity and make the world a safer place, but clashes with Monarch over their differing ideals on what is best for humanity. Producer Alex Garcia said Walter has risen to a place in the seats of power and is wanting to help to stem and stop the madness and the destruction. Garcia stated that Walter is not necessarily a villain or a Machiavellian character, but is a very complex character who believes he's doing the right thing, and he may be, but that's where the mystery at the core of the film comes into play. Kaylee Hoddle as Gia, a young, deaf, orphaned Iwi native who forms a special bond with Kong and is Eileen's adopted daughter. Additionally, Hakeem Kakazim portrays Admiral Wilcox, Ronnie Chiang portrays Jay Wayne, John Pericello portrays Horace, and Chris Chalk portrays Ben. Alan Henry provided the performance capture for Kong, while animation supervisor Eric Peaty provided Kong's full-body performance and facial capture for the ocean battle sequence. Zhang Zi and Jessica Henwick were cast but did not appear in the final cut of the film, with Zhang intended to have been reprising her role from Godzilla King of the Monsters. Production crew: Adam Wingard, director Jay Ashenfelter, executive producer Herbert Gaines, executive producer Dan Lin, executive producer Roy Lee, executive producer Yoshimitsu Banno, executive producer Posthumous, Kenji Okuhira, executive producer, Jen Conroy, co-producer, Tamara Kent, co-producer, Owen Patterson, production designer, Tom Hammock, production designer, Ann Foley, costume designer, John DJ Desjardins, visual effects supervisor. Personnel taken from the press release, development. In September 2015, Legendary moved Kong's Skull Island from Universal to Warner Bros., which sparked media speculation that Godzilla and King Kong would appear in a film together. In October 2015, Legendary confirmed that they would unite Godzilla and King Kong in Godzilla vs. Kong, at the time targeted for a May 29, 2020 release. Legendary plans to create a shared cinematic franchise centered around Monarch that brings together Godzilla and Legendary's King Kong in an ecosystem of other giant superspecies, both classic and new. Producer Alex Garcia confirmed that the film would not be a remake of King Kong vs. Godzilla, stating, "The idea is not to remake that movie." Executive producer Jay Ashenfelter found the project to be challenging due to Godzilla, King of the Monsters, stating, "It was also such a humongous monster ballet that the question became, what can we do to top that?" In May 2017, Adam Wingard was announced as the director for Godzilla vs. Kong. 38. Wingard had previously been considered by Peter Jackson to direct a sequel to his 2005 version of King Kong that went unproduced. Wingard was offered the project by Mary Parent, stating, "I jumped at it immediately, doing both characters in one film and being the filmmaker who gets to answer the age-old question of, who would win? I couldn't resist." Wingard emphasized his intent for audiences to invest emotionally in the monsters as characters, and his goal for the battle to have a definitive victor, Wingard prepared by watching every Godzilla and King Kong film. Before receiving a script, Wingard had already pictured the final battle taking place in a synthwave-style futuristic city backdrop. He chose this due to being a fan of electronic video game music and 1980s film scores. He stated, "My vision basically started there. How can we get these two monsters fighting on a synthwave album cover?" Wingard confirmed that the film would tie in with Godzilla, King of the Monsters, be set in modern times, and feature a more rugged, a bit more aged Kong. Wingard cited the 1976 remake of King Kong and Godzilla vs. Destoroyah as touchstones for evoking empathy in the film. Godzilla vs. Mothra, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, and Shin Godzilla served as inspiration for the monster's scale. Legendary financed $120 million while Warner Bros. Financed $40 million. Writing in March 2017, Legendary assembled a writer's room to develop the story for Godzilla vs. Kong, with Terry Rossio, who co-wrote an early unproduced script for TriStar's Godzilla, leading a team consisting of J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, Lindsay Beer, Kat Vasco, T.S. Nowlin, Jack Paglin, and J. Michael Straczynski. Wingard wanted to craft an outcome that had a definitive winner while allowing the loser to retain their dignity, stating they could earn each other's respect. Rossio stated that the intent of the writer's room was to break the story. For Rossio to write a first draft. Rossio wrote a detailed treatment that was green-lit by Legendary during the first draft stage. Rossio structured the story in a way that audiences would not have an implicit bias towards either monster, emphasizing that both characters are dangerous monsters, misunderstood by humanity. He added, "Kong calls to mind the dangers inherent in unfettered emotion, while Godzilla can be seen to represent the fundamental power of nature. That puts them on pretty equal footing." On his experience with the writer's room, Rossio stated, "Godzilla vs. Kong was my first experience running a writer's room, and it was fantastic. It was a blast reading samples, meeting different writers, and crafting a story in a group setting. It felt similar to animation, where the film is happening up on the walls, and the end result is better than any one person could accomplish on their own." According to Wingard, Rossio later likened the treatment to a proposal where the ideas were not completely defined, but had potential to work. Wingard admitted to imitating Rossio's treatment proposal method for later projects like Face Off 2. In July 2017, Wingard spoke about the outline created by the writer's room, stating, "We're going in very great detail through all the characters, the arcs they have, how they relate to one another, and most importantly, how they relate to the monsters, and how the monsters relate to them or reflect them." He stated that he and his team are going beat by beat on the outline, stating, "So once again, it's a discussion, and about feeling out how to make it as strong as possible, so that when Terry Rossio goes to write the screenplay, he has a definitive breakdown of what to include." Michael Dougherty, who directed Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Zach Shields, who co-wrote the film with Dougherty, provided rewrites to ensure that certain themes from King of the Monsters were carried over and that some characters were properly developed. Dougherty revealed how he wrote for the title characters and how the film would address their differing interactions with people. For Kong, Dougherty stated the film would feature those very unique and even warm bonding moments between Kong and humans, since they have been a staple of the character since the original 1933 film. For Godzilla, his connection to humans would be more implied, as his softer side is rarely shown. Eric Pearson and Max Bornstein contributed in streamlining the story. Pearson recalled an unused concept where drunks with shotguns attempt to kill a woolly mammoth thing, only to get crushed. The sequence was intended to allude to the folly of mankind's attempts to challenge the Titans. Wingard became very involved in developing the world-building behind the Hollow Earth plotline. He described the split narrative as a voyage through time and an exploration of the past and future, noting how Madison, Josh, and Bernie uncover tech that should not exist while the others uncover the origins of the Titans and humanity in the Hollow Earth. Wingard noted that similarities between Madison and Bernie and how their mission created a Goonies-esque adventure, stating it was a nice seasoning so we didn't get bogged down in a single tone. Rossio found Madison's arc as a clear build from the previous film, feeling it made sense for her to be assertive and have insight into Godzilla's actions. Pearson compared Madison to Indiana Jones due to her reckless nature, describing her as the indisputable captain of the team. Borenstein had originally written Mechagodzilla into Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Co-writer and director Dougherty scrapped the character during development. In April 2022, Isa Gonzalez revealed that much of the original story, including an alternate storyline for Gonzalez's character, was changed during post-production, including completely cutting Jessica Henwick's character that affected several characters. Gonzalez iterated that the changes were made so the story would service Godzilla and Kong, and expressed gratitude for her participation. Casting. In June 2017, it was announced that Zhang Zi had joined Legendary's MonsterVerse, having a reportedly pivotal role in both Godzilla, King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, though she ultimately starred only in the former. In June 2018, Julian Dennison was cast, while Millie Bobby Brown and Kyle Chandler were set to reprise their roles from Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Legendary also sent an offer to Frances McDormand for a role. In July 2018, it was revealed that Danai Gurira was in early talks to join the film. In October 2018, Brian Tyree Henry, Damian Bitcher, Alexander Skarsgård, Isa Gonzalez, 65, and Rebecca Hall were added to the cast, 66. In November 2018, Jessica Henwick, Shun Oguri, 68, and Lance Reddick were cast, with Oguri making his Hollywood debut. Gurira was briefly named amongst the cast by Collider and Screen Geek, though neither she nor Henwick appeared in the finished film. YouTuber and filmmaker James Rolfe was offered a potential cameo by Wingard, but production pressures and the birth of his second daughter meant it was not able to be arranged. Music main article, Godzilla vs. Kong. In June 2020, Tom Holkenborg was announced as the film's composer. Wingard met with Holkenborg in 2018, where Holkenborg admitted to recreationally writing music for Godzilla years prior due to being a fan. Holk subsequently began communicating with the director, tweaked the material, and played it for the director, stating that Wingard was totally in love. Holkenborg requested a bass drum roughly 10 feet in diameter, but the builder was only able to scale it down to 8 feet. As with Legendary's previous Godzilla trailers, Jorge Ligeti's Requiem was used, followed by Here We Go by Chris Classic. The song, The Air That I Breathe by the Hollies, was used in the credits scene. The soundtrack was released by Water Tower Music on March 26, 2021. Wingard felt it was insincere to repurpose the themes by Akira Ifukube because he associated them with Toho's Godzilla. Instead, Wingard wished to go in a different direction to create themes that were unique to the monster vs. Godzilla, while paying homage to its influences. Holkenborg wanted to create a Godzilla theme that lived and breathed the history behind monster themes. Lower brass and big timpanis were used to emphasize the power of Godzilla. Holkenborg wanted Godzilla's theme to be slow and sluggish to reflect Godzilla the String. For the film's Japanese release, Man with a Mission contributed the track Into the Deep. Regarding the track's inclusion, Wingard commented, "I'm thrilled that an inspiring song from a groundbreaking band like Man with a Mission will be playing alongside the battle in Godzilla vs. Kong." Box office. Godzilla vs. Kong grossed $100.9 million in the United States and Canada, and $369.2 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $470.1 million. Variety reported the film needed to gross at least $330 million in order to break even. Deadline Hollywood estimated it would turn a net profit of $96.4 million when factoring together all expenses and revenue. A week prior to its United States release, the film was released in 38 overseas countries and was projected to gross around $70 million over its first 5 days. In China, where it was projected to debut to around $50 million, the film made 21.5 million, RMB 140 million, on its first day. The film exceeded predictions and debuted to 123.1 million worldwide, the biggest worldwide opening of the pandemic for a Hollywood film. Its largest markets were China $69.2 million, RMB 450.5 million, Mexico $6.5 million, Australia $6.3 million, all, Russia 5.9 million, Taiwan 5.3 million, India 4.9 million, Thailand 3.3 million, South Korea 2.8 million, Vietnam 2.5 million, Malaysia 2.1 million, and Spain 1.7 million. In Indonesia, the film earned $850,000, $12.3 billion. In the United States and Canada, Godzilla vs. Kong was initially projected to gross around $23 million over its 5-day opening weekend, compared to expectations of around $68 million in a pre-COVID marketplace of PESF. It made $9.6 million from 2,409 theaters in its first day, the best opening day figure of the pandemic. After grossing $6.7 million on its second day, 5-day projections were increased to $30 to $40 million. Playing in 3,064 theaters by Friday, the film went on to debut to $31.6 million in 3 days and $48.1 million over 5, the best opening weekend of the pandemic. Collider attributed the film's box office results to positive word of mouth. The film grossed $13.9 million in its second weekend, remaining in first and becoming the highest-grossing domestic release of the pandemic, passing Tenet's $58.5 million. During the weekend, ending on June 20, 2021, Godzilla vs. Kong became the second film to cross the $100 million mark at the United States and Canadian box office during the COVID-19 pandemic. Distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures worldwide. Japan release dates March 24, 2021. International March 31, 2021. United States running time 130 minutes. Country United States. Language English. Budget 55, Thai 200 million, box office 47 $9. So guys, this is their view of Godzilla vs. Kong movie and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe.